Meghan Markle's failed plan to bag a billionaire as her marriage to Prince Harry becomes more unhappy by the day.
You're watching this because a rare and unexpected event has drawn global attention. It's not often that a former member of the British royal family, someone who once attended royal engagements and appeared alongside Queen Elizabeth II, faces complications at an international border. Reports from multiple outlets suggest that Meghan Markle was recently delayed at the Dubai border. While details remain unconfirmed, several sources claim she was held briefly for questioning before being asked to return on the same flight. Officials have not provided public comment, and there's no indication of any legal action or arrest. Dubai, known for its luxury and exclusivity, maintains strict entry protocols, and even high-profile visitors can face scrutiny. For Meghan, who has often been in the media spotlight, this incident has sparked discussion about how public perception and international policy can intersect. Whether this was a routine immigration matter or something more symbolic remains unclear, but it highlights how even global figures can face challenges when crossing borders. Some commentators have suggested that the situation may relate to how reputation and public image are viewed in certain regions. In countries like the United Arab Emirates, image and diplomatic relationships are often considered carefully, particularly given strong economic and political ties with nations such as the United Kingdom.
Meghan Markle is truly one of the most dangerous public figures on the world stage at the moment. She needs to be stopped.
Public reporting has frequently focused on Meghan Markle's well-documented separation from the British royal family, as well as various media controversies surrounding her business ventures and public statements. While supporters argue she has faced intense scrutiny and unfair criticism, others point to ongoing disputes and professional challenges as part of a broader public narrative. It is important to note that much of this discussion is based on commentary and interpretation rather than confirmed government statements. No official explanation has been released regarding the reported border issue. Observers have speculated about whether alternative travel or professional plans were considered afterward, but verified details remain limited. As with many high-profile stories, the full context may be more complex than early reports suggest, leaving room for differing interpretations. Following reports that entry into Dubai did not proceed as expected, some commentators claimed that attention shifted towards Saudi Arabia. According to unverified media accounts, discussions may have taken place with individuals connected to senior circles. However, there is no official confirmation that formal negotiations occurred or that any residency arrangement was formally requested. Several outlets have suggested that Saudi officials ultimately declined involvement. Anonymous sources cited in tabloid coverage described the decision as being related to reputational considerations, though no public statement has been issued by Saudi authorities to clarify or confirm those claims. As with many high-profile stories, much of the narrative relies on unnamed insiders and secondary reporting. Observers note that Meghan Markle's public profile includes widely viewed interviews, streaming projects, and legal disputes that have generated both support and criticism. The 2021 televised interview discussing her experiences within the royal family, along with subsequent media ventures, contributed to ongoing global debate. Supporters view her actions as candid and necessary, while critics see them differently. Speculation has also surfaced online about potential involvement from British institutions, but there is no verified evidence supporting those claims. Without official confirmation, these elements remain part of broader media discussion rather than established fact. Some London-based commentators have suggested that informal conversations may have taken place between British and Gulf officials regarding the movements of high-profile public figures, including Meghan and Prince Harry. These claims remain unverified, and there has been no official confirmation from any government or royal office. Reports describing a quiet warning appear to stem largely from anonymous sources cited in tabloid coverage. Speculation has also circulated online about Prince William's possible awareness of such discussions. However, there is no public evidence that he authorized or directed any diplomatic communication. As with many royal-related stories, unnamed insiders have offered strong character assessments, but these remarks cannot be independently confirmed. Since stepping back from royal duties, Meghan's media ventures, including interviews, streaming projects, podcasting, and legal actions, have kept her in the public eye. Supporters argue that these moves represent efforts to build an independent career, while critics view them as controversial or divisive. claims that detailed information was formally shared with foreign officials have not been substantiated by official records. Without documented confirmation, these accounts remain part of broader media speculation rather than established fact, leaving room for varying interpretations.
In celebrating the 125th anniversary of women's suffrage in your country.
Reports about Meghan Markle's reaction to the alleged Saudi decision vary widely, and most rely on unnamed sources. Some tabloid accounts claim she was deeply frustrated after efforts to secure a new international base did not move forward. However, there has been no direct statement from Meghan or her representatives confirming these descriptions. As with many high-profile figures, interpretations of private reactions are often shaped by media framing rather than verified fact. Coverage has also suggested that her communications team increased outreach to journalists and industry contacts following the reports. Public relations efforts are common in situations involving intense scrutiny, and differing outlets have characterized these efforts in contrasting ways. Some describe them as routine reputation management, while others frame them as damage control. Attention has additionally turned to her and Prince Harry's life in California. Online speculation has questioned their housing situation in Montecito, with various claims circulating about finances or property arrangements. At this time, there is no confirmed public record indicating that they were forced to leave their residence. Much of the narrative surrounding these events remains based on secondary reporting and anonymous commentary, underscoring the difficulty of separating verified information from conjecture in celebrity coverage. Recent commentary has also focused on Prince Harry's position amid ongoing media scrutiny. Various outlets have speculated about financial adjustments and lifestyle changes since the couple stepped back from official royal duties. While some reports suggest cost-cutting measures, there is no publicly verified evidence detailing their private financial arrangements. A number of commentators have claimed that Prince Harry has explored ways to maintain or rebuild communication with members of the royal family. These reports remain largely based on anonymous sources, and there has been no formal confirmation from Buckingham Palace regarding the nature of any discussions. Observers often interpret his public appearances and interviews differently, with some suggesting he reflects on his former role, while others view his current path as a deliberate and independent choice. Media coverage has also revisited the couple's business ventures, including streaming agreements and podcast projects. Public reaction to these efforts has been mixed, drawing both support and criticism. In broader discussions about international relations, analysts frequently note that reputation can influence diplomatic and social considerations in many regions, including parts of the Middle East. However, there is no official statement indicating that any formal designation or label has been applied in this case. Much of the current narrative continues to rely on interpretation rather than confirmed documentation. Some media commentators have claimed that Meghan Markle's name may carry heightened sensitivity in certain diplomatic circles. These assertions suggest informal reputational awareness rather than any criminal or official designation. However, there has been no public confirmation from Gulf governments or other authorities supporting the idea of formal internal flags. Such claims remain rooted in anonymous sourcing and speculative reporting. Observers often note that Meghan has built a public platform around discussing institutional accountability and personal experience. Supporters view this as advocacy, while critics argue that controversy frequently surrounds her media appearances and business ventures. Whether that pattern reflects media dynamics or personal decision-making depends largely on perspective. The bullying allegations raised during her time as a working royal continue to receive periodic attention. Meghan has firmly denied the claims, and her legal representatives have issued statements disputing the accounts. At the same time, some former staff members have reportedly stood by their original complaints. Buckingham Palace confirmed in 2021 that an internal review would take place, though the detailed findings were not released publicly. Because the results of that review were not disclosed, much of the ongoing debate relies on second-hand reporting and interpretation. As with many high-profile disputes, the absence of full transparency leaves room for differing conclusions among observers. Media coverage has also suggested that workplace concerns were raised in the United States following similar allegations previously reported in the United Kingdom. These claims have appeared in various outlets, though detailed documentation has not been made public. As before, Meghan has denied accusations of mistreatment, and her representatives have challenged the credibility of such reports. Without transparent findings or official records, much of the discussion remains based on anonymous accounts. Public perception of Meghan has evolved over time, Early interviews, including the widely viewed conversation with Oprah Winfrey, generated significant sympathy and sparked global conversations about race, mental health, and institutional culture. Subsequent projects, including streaming content and public appearances, kept her in the spotlight. In recent years, however, commentary has become more divided. Some supporters continue to view her as an advocate addressing systemic issues, while critics question aspects of her narrative and public strategy. Shifts in tone across media platforms reflect this broader reassessment. There has also been speculation about future plans, including possible relocation or strategic changes. These reports largely rely on unnamed sources and industry observers rather than confirmed statements from her team. At present, no verified information indicates a specific course of action.
But yes, my point is we weren't allowed to tell our story because they didn't want.
As with many high-profile figures, public narratives often move faster than confirmed facts, leaving audiences to interpret developments based on limited information. Some commentators argue that the broader issue is not simply about privacy or security, but about public standing and professional influence. They suggest that international destinations such as Dubai or Saudi Arabia may have represented opportunities for renewed visibility or strategic partnerships. However, there is no confirmed evidence that formal proposals were rejected for those reasons, and much of this interpretation comes from opinion-based reporting. Media speculation has also described efforts to reconnect with former associates in entertainment and philanthropic circles. According to unnamed sources cited in several outlets, outreach may have been made to past collaborators and industry contacts. Whether these efforts reflect routine networking or a response to shifting public perception is open to interpretation. No direct statements from those individuals have been made publicly. In recent years, Meghan's relationships within parts of the entertainment and media industries have appeared to evolve. Some partnerships have concluded, while others remain active. Analysts often note that public figures regularly experience cycles of strong support followed by periods of reassessment. Claims that she has been widely frozen out of the industry remain unverified and largely anecdotal. As with many celebrity narratives, perceptions of momentum or decline can shift quickly, depending on upcoming projects, public response, and broader media framing. Attention has also turned to Meghan Markle's standing within the entertainment industry. After stepping back from royal duties, she and Prince Harry signed high-profile production agreements, including a partnership with Netflix and a podcast deal with Spotify. Some of their projects generated strong initial interest, while critical reception to certain releases was mixed. The Spotify partnership later concluded, a development that industry analysts described as part of a broader reassessment of podcast investments across the platform. Commentary and trade publications has questioned how Hollywood decision-makers currently view the couple's brand. While some observers suggest that controversy can increase visibility, others note that studios and fashion houses often prioritize stability and predictable returns. There is, however, no public evidence that Meghan has been formally excluded from major industry circles. Invitations, collaborations, and partnerships often fluctuate for many public figures depending on timing and market conditions. Discussions within entertainment media have also raised broader questions about trust and long-term professional relationships. Critics argue that high-profile disputes can complicate future partnerships, while supporters maintain that public figures have the right to tell their stories and defend their reputations. Ultimately, assessments of Meghan's Hollywood trajectory vary widely. Without access to private negotiations or internal deliberations, much of the narrative remains shaped by interpretation rather than confirmed decision-making processes. Commentators who have followed this story often frame it as a broader discussion about trust and institutional loyalty. Some analysts suggest that in royal and diplomatic circles, whether in Europe, Asia, or the Middle East, tradition and discretion are highly valued. From that perspective, public criticism of long-standing institutions can be viewed differently depending on cultural context. However, there is no official confirmation that such considerations directly influenced any specific decision regarding travel or residency. Supporters of Meghan argue that speaking openly about personal experiences reflects transparency and advocacy.
They come so thick and fast. But is it resolved? We don't know.
We don't know.
Critics contend that public disclosures about internal matters may strain relationships tied to historic institutions. These differing viewpoints reflect a wider debate about modern accountability versus traditional expectations of confidentiality. The reported tensions between Prince William and Prince Harry have also drawn sustained media attention. Both have acknowledged challenges in their relationship, particularly following Harry's memoir and televised interviews. While some reports describe a significant rift, neither has publicly detailed the full extent of their current communication. As with many royal stories, much of the narrative relies on interpretation and unnamed sources. Without direct statements clarifying private discussions or diplomatic reasoning, conclusions remain speculative. Viewers and readers are left to assess the situation through the lens of evolving public commentary and limited confirmed information. Media coverage has frequently described a significant strain in the relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry. While some outlets characterize the situation as deeply fractured, both brothers have spoken publicly about disagreements without fully detailing the current state of their relationship. Commentators often trace the timeline of tensions to the period following Harry's marriage and the couple's decision to step back from royal duties, though perspectives differ on the causes and responsibility. Reports quoting unnamed sources have attributed strong opinions to Prince William regarding Meghan's influence. However, such claims remain unverified, and neither Kensington Palace nor representatives for the Sussexes have confirmed private characterizations that circulate in tabloids. Public interviews, memoir excerpts, and documentaries have contributed to differing interpretations of how the family dynamic evolved. Regarding the reported travel complications in the Middle East, some analysts argue that governments may weigh reputational and diplomatic considerations when assessing high-profile individuals. Others caution that without official statements from Dubai or Saudi authorities, it is not possible to determine the precise reasoning behind any reported decisions. Speculation that these events could influence broader international perceptions remains just that: speculation. In the absence of documented policy explanations or formal comments, conclusions about motive or long-term impact should be viewed as interpretive rather than definitive. Some commentators have gone as far as to suggest that Meghan Markle's international reputation has suffered significant strain. Phrases like persona non grata have appeared in opinion columns, though there is no official designation or formal statement from any government supporting that characterization. Such language reflects interpretation rather than confirmed policy. Looking ahead, analysts remain divided about what comes next. Critics argue that recent professional challenges, including concluded media deals and shifting public sentiment, indicate a difficult period. Supporters counter that public figures often experience cycles of scrutiny followed by reinvention, particularly within the entertainment industry. Without access to private financial details or upcoming contracts, predictions about long-term prospects remain speculative. Some observers have reflected on how differently events might have unfolded. When Meghan joined the royal family, coverage frequently highlighted her professional background and the symbolic significance of her role within a historic institution. Debate continues over whether internal reform is best pursued from within established systems or through public critique. Ultimately, assessments of her trajectory depend largely on perspective. The story intersects with questions about tradition, media influence, personal agency, and institutional change. As new developments emerge, public opinion may continue to evolve, underscoring how complex and multifaceted this narrative has become. In recent months, media analysts have increasingly examined how public narratives are shaped in the digital era. Meghan Markle's story, in particular, highlights the complex relationship between celebrity, legacy institutions, and modern media platforms. Every interview, public appearance, or business announcement is dissected in real time, often framed through sharply contrasting lenses depending on the outlet. Some communications experts suggest that the challenge for high-profile figures today is not simply reputation management, but consistency. In an environment where past statements are easily revisited and compared with current messaging, shifts in tone or strategy can prompt renewed scrutiny. Supporters argue that evolution is natural and reflects growth. Critics, however, may interpret changes as inconsistency. Industry observers also point out that brand sustainability often depends on clear positioning. Meghan's public identity has included philanthropy, media production, advocacy, and lifestyle initiatives. While diversification can broaden appeal, it can also create questions about focus. None of this is unique to her. Many public figures navigate similar recalibrations as they transition between careers and public roles. At the same time, the broader cultural conversation around monarchy, privilege, and accountability continues to evolve. Meghan's experiences have become intertwined with those debates, making her both a participant in and a symbol of larger societal shifts. How that symbolism develops may depend less on isolated headlines and more on long-term strategy and public engagement. Another factor shaping the narrative is the role of public memory. In high-profile disputes, initial reactions are often emotional and immediate, but long-term reputations tend to settle over time. Historians frequently note that distance from controversy can soften perceptions or, in some cases, solidify criticism. It is too early to determine which direction this story will ultimately take. Within the entertainment and philanthropic sectors, reinvention is common. Public figures who face setbacks often pivot toward new ventures, partnerships, or causes. Analysts suggest that future projects, if carefully selected and clearly communicated, could influence how Meghan is perceived in the coming years. Whether those opportunities materialize remains uncertain, as many negotiations in these industries occur privately. The continued public interest in her journey reflects a broader fascination with the intersection of celebrity and royalty. Few modern figures occupy both spaces simultaneously, and that dual identity brings unique pressures. Scrutiny can be amplified, and expectations can be difficult to balance. For now, much of the discussion remains rooted in interpretation rather than official declarations. Media narratives may continue to shift as new interviews, projects, or statements emerge, leaving observers to assess developments as they unfold. Recent commentary has increasingly framed the situation as a contrast between public conflict and private diplomacy. Critics argue that sustained media disputes can make long-term reputation management more challenging, particularly when professional partnerships and personal relationships are involved. Supporters, however, maintain that speaking openly about personal experiences can carry risks but also reflects conviction. As business opportunities shift and media narratives evolve, observers are debating what these developments mean for Meghan Markle's broader public standing. Some analysts suggest that rebuilding credibility, if that is indeed necessary, often involves careful reflection, consistent messaging, and time. Others point out that public figures frequently experience cycles of criticism followed by reinvention. Whether Meghan's current chapter represents a temporary setback or a longer-term turning point remains uncertain. Much depends on future projects, strategic decisions, and how audiences respond. Is there a clear path forward from here? That question continues to generate discussion across media and entertainment circles, with no definitive answer yet. If you found this analysis helpful, consider subscribing to the channel for continued coverage and balanced discussions on developments like this.